The Union of Shainim which has seen something of a revival in recent years. Is based on what we're supposed to take out of the limud of the parashiyos of Shibud Mitzrayim and then the Gula. You know, there's the simple kasha that one asks. We celebrate Leila Seder, the Nisim of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Say, how to the Rabbi Shalom? And the big kasha is, but he put us there in the first place. Unlike all the other Goliaths, the Churbanis that came about because of our avodas, Golus Mitzrayim was foretold. Avraham Avinu was told, we don't find that it was a particular English because that door, the pasuk spells out that door sinned. How does one understand the whole Indian of Golus Mitzrayim? The Betzin, the pasuk says, "V'chakein yetzu b'rechush gadol." Golus Mitzrayim had one very specific purpose. It was removing Klal Yisrael from the rest of humanity. We were denied freedom. We were denied any form of normal life. Everything that Olam Haza has to offer was beaten out of us. The physical and emotional torture was to remove us from the family of nations, to remove us from simple Gashmias life. And then that was replaced with a Rechush Gadol. The Nisim and the Flos that we witnessed all the way to Kriyas Yamsuf, the Rosa Shivchal Ayam Ashlaroi Cheskim and Buzim Yamav. And then Maimon Har Sinai, where every Yid became a Navi. The entire Klal Yisrael reached the level of Nevuah. We became a different people. Ever since Golus and Gulas Mitzrayim, the place of the Jew, the Geschmack of a Yid, is not in Gashmias. No food, no Gashmias pleasure of any form can compete with the sensation of an Aliyah Ruchnis. Be it a Chesed, be it a Tefillah, certainly be it the Geschmack of Talmud Torah. We're a different breed. We've been elevated. And this is something that has to be relived annually, because we're out of Mitzrayim a long time. And especially since we've been scattered among the nations, we live among all of those who do worship the Gashmias, who do use the word Gishmak for Gashmias. We've got to revive the lesson of Shibud and Gulas Mitzrayim year after year, to recognize that we are the Mamleches Kohen and the Beit Kodesh. So let's understand what is Kedusha. The Rambam says it Beferish. Kedusha is you identify with your seichel over your instincts. Identifying with your seichel over your instincts means that your heart, your emotions are with your seichel. I know the word Kedusha has very touchy-feely and spooky connotations, but I'd like to use a much more down-to-earth word: maturity. Person being mature. A child, if it tastes good, it doesn't make a difference where it's coming from. The candy fell in the dirt, so what? Doesn't taste any less good. The context is irrelevant. Sweet to the tongue that does the job. Maturity means you grow up. Your appreciation for, be it cleanliness, be it health, or be it self-respect, they take over. And what as a child may have been appealing, as an adult is repulsive. Kedusha is growing up, it's being mature. But we don't just measure ourselves against people of our age group and the rest of humanity. It's the Am Chochem V'Novim. It's the intelligent, mature nation, a bigger people, a people that has tasted so much better. This is the Yisod. The areas that stands out most, of course, with regard to Achila, when it comes to food, but there we've got plenty of halachas. Creation to you does apply there too. But that's not what this kenes is about. Rashi Creation to you, Prushim, Dikers, Prushim, and Arayas. The Maral says that the word Kedusha applies to Prishim and Arayas more than anything else. Because that's really what separates between one who is Kodesh and one who isn't. That is the area where one is most torn between his seichel, his maturity, and his instincts. The Yitzchak Arayas, that animalistic instinct within us that drives human beings insane, where regardless of how high one is reached, when you deal with the world out there, how is it? Just how is it? People that are famous, presidents, famous, wealthy, everything's on the line. Their reputations, if caught, they become the laughing stock of the nation. Their entire future is in jeopardy, not to mention the family. What is it that they found that was so great that it's worth sacrificing absolutely everything they've got? Does it make any sense whatsoever? Does any level-headed human being conclude that this is a wise decision? The Yitzchak Arayas is this insanity that Hashem put into the human body to give us schar, to overcome, and use your seichel hayosher. Be able to recognize that what people do is insane. This includes the entire parsha. It's not limited to breaking Yisurei Arayis, anything that's related to it. This is Kedusha. Being mature, being a Chochem V'Novim, and that's equal to Mamleches Kohanim V'Goy Kodesh. A bigger people that doesn't allow its instincts to do things that are just ridiculous, to be mashpil themselves and destroy their lives. With regard to Inyane Yishus, for a mature human being, for a member of the Am Chochem V'Novel, the beauty of developing a relationship with one's wife and the instinctive pleasures, the instinctive drive cannot be mentioned in the Shema Achas. How do you compare the two? One builds developing a relationship which is Ben Adam L'Chaver, tested more than anywhere else. Developing feelings, learning to care, learning to set aside one's own desires and needs for those of someone else that you care for. Learning to understand another human being who's so different. Maral says, man and woman, the two oilamis, it's nes. The whole concept of marriage is nes. Remember in the Bria, man and woman had to be created separately. There had to be a whole other stage. It's one of the Asar Mamaris according to one day. What he's saying is the entire animal kingdom had one mimer that included the giraffe and the mouse and the hippopotamus. All one mimer created all of them. And each needed one and each needed another mimer. Two different worlds becoming one, learning to understand one another. That's an avodah. The growth process, learning to be patient, learning to be calm. There's nothing like it. Learning to really build a relationship and what a Torah marriage is supposed to look like. And then, the physical side of it, the union of chibur, of expressing that emotional desire to become a unit, to go and express that in the physical sense, as an extension and as an expression of it. Oh, that's wonderful. Compare that to the lowly use of another human being for your own personal desires. There's nothing lower than that. There's nothing more selfish than that. To take another human being and use their very body for your own personal desires. There's nothing lower than that. One is building, becoming greater. And the other is such shiflus. Vivdilonu min atoyim. Golus Mitzrayim pulled us out of that lowly world where marriage means two human beings viewing one another as pieces of meat, chalila, serving themselves. Verses in the Mamleches Kohen v'Goy Kodesh, two people working on midas, being meiser nefesh for one another, thinking of one another, that builds, becoming bigger and greater. The tainig ruchani cannot be mentioned in the Shema Achas with the so-called tainig that the instincts are satisfied with. One builds and the other destroys. This is really the Yesod of Shaiv. Chazering that. Tznius. Although the parshas are other parshas, it It includes a lot of this as well. Learning through the parashas of Tznius is a study. Agav, these are sugyas that have to be learned up well and understood. Most of what's discussed in the Tznius applies to women. It's much more than Yisoyin and an Indian for women. They also have their halachas. This kenes is be'ikr, focused on the tznius for women, but why talk about it to men? It seems that the realities are that there are many women either that would like to dress in a life that's more tzanu, and we'll talk about it, but they fear their husband's reactions, fearing that their husbands will label them as being too frum. Others that Pashut don't appreciate that what we're dealing with is basic yesodus of halacha, things that are doraises, yesodus that are doraises, possibly drabanan forms of them, and possibly minig interpreting the doraisa, but basics to being a yid. And they need their husbands to get that into them. We're not dealing with so-called fumkeit. We're dealing with basic principles and what it means to be part of Mamleches Koyin V'Goy Kodesh, of what this Am Chochem V'Noven is all about. So I'd like to give a basic outline of the Yesodus of Tznius. I'm not going to spend too much time on some of them, even though they really call for a lot more. And go learn them up. The mitzvah d'oraisa tznius that we find in the Rishonim is in the Smak. The Bir Halacha brings it down. The first mitzvah is the mitzvah of Ahoya Machanecha Kodesh. What exactly is that mitzvah? So, regular achas. What's the parsha talking about? When you go to battle, so there's a mitzvah d'oraisa, the Yosei Tiyah L'chol Azemecha. Along with your ornaments, there's a chiyuv d'oraisa to take along a shovel. What's that for? There are no washrooms out in the battlefield. Clean up after yourself. The mitzvah of keeping the battlefield bathroom clean. What kind of mitzvah is that? What kind of mitzvah is that? What the mitzvah is? The mitzvah is the mitzvah of Klal Yisrael, maintaining its dignity even in battle. I say even in battle. If you take a look at the Gesher HaChaim's His Chelik Gimel, he talks about why it is that we find so many mitzvahs that are brought around the Parsha of Milchama. Eglah Ruf is mamish, smack in the middle. We find Baltashchis in Milchama, because the Torah is taking the least expected places. When Chalila people are dying, the Torah reminds you that if there's someone whose death is unexplainable, the whole nation has to go crazy. The Skanim have to come out and say, Yedeinu L'Shofku Es Adam Hazeh. Baltashchis, even in the middle of the Milchama, you don't waste. Is wanton destruction. Don't waste. So I think the same thing here when it comes to tznius. There's another one, there's a tanchuma. The mitzvah of karosei leil l'sholem, when you go to battle, you have to call for peace. Says the tanchuma, the Torah is telling us, even beis milchama you have to look for sholem. Kolshkin, but it's not beis milchama. In Milchama, what do people think about? Survival. Instincts take over. The human turns to animal. Says the Torah, maintain your dignity. When you go to battle, make sure you take a shovel with you. Maintain your dignity. So from here we get all of Hilchas Beis HaKisei. And from here we get the halacha.